continue the season without Dak Prescott after he underwent successful ankle surgery Sunday night. Three-time Pro Bowler Andy Dalton will now take the starting role for the Cowboys, and Dalton has had 4 double-digit winning seasons as a starter, but is also 0-4 in playoff games. Orlando Scandrick still with us this morning. Orlando, how far can Andy Dalton take the Cowboys this season?
Do you want my biased opinion or my unbiased opinion?
Unbiased.
Nowhere. So we're going to look at Andy Dalton. I was going to give you his last 3 seasons, but I'm going to exclude last year because it was 2-14 and he was in and out the lineup. Is it fair to say that?
Yes.
So 2018, Cincinnati Bengals, 6-10. 2017, Cincinnati Bengals, 7-9. 2016 Bengals, 6-9-1. So that's exactly what Andy Dalton is. He's a overly average backup. He's a below average starter. I think the Cowboys have too many holes. They're missing both their tackles. They're missing their center. Their Pro Bowl center retired. The guy that they expected to be their center, and Joe Lenny, he's hurting. The guard that they drafted in the 2nd round from Texas, Connor Williams, has never turned into what they thought he would be. And their defense, their defense is struggling. They don't look comfortable. They don't look sound. They're struggling with the schematic switch, and I don't think Mike Nolan was the correct hire for what they had, for the pieces that they had in place on their defense.
I totally agree, and I think the thing is that it looks like it's going to look, to me, it seems like a 2-team race between the Eagles and the Cowboys for the division, which would probably be the worst division historically in NFL history. This division, because somebody's going to probably win this division 7-9, 8-8. The question is, okay, the winner of this division is going to get a home playoff game. I just don't see a scenario where either one of these teams, be it Dallas or Eagles, can win a home playoff game considering what they are. And as you mentioned, the Cowboys, that defense is terrible. You gave up 27 points because Dak threw a pick 6. You gave up 27 points to a team that was averaging 12 points a game.
Yeah, I don't really know how to call it. I mean, you got guys. You hear a lot of guys defending their play publicly. I love DeMarcus Lawrence. D-Law, if you listening to me, you're a hell of a player. You don't need to defend yourself publicly. You worked hard for the contract that you got. It's hard at anything to live up to everyone's expectations. Their secondary is really, really young. From a linebacking standpoint, Jalen is a great player, but he needs like a steady rock player there with him. And Vander Esch hasn't been able to stay healthy at all. Their front 7, they haven't been able to get the pressure that they thought they would get. You got Everson Griffin, who was a great player in Minnesota, who hasn't been able to give you the same type of production that he was giving you in Minnesota. And basically your leading defensive lineman is Aldon Smith, a guy who hasn't played in 5 years. I think you look at McCarthy saying he'd rather play. He never wants to play one defense. He wants to get this thing right. Well, you giving up 30 points playing 30 defenses. So it seems like whatever you call is famine for the offense.
Okay, my turn, and I'm going to give you my biased perspective, starting with Andy Dalton. I think you were way too hard on Andy Dalton. His first 5 years in this league, when Cincinnati had some talent around him, he averaged 10 wins a year. He made 3 Pro Bowls. He got them to the playoffs 4 times, and yeah, he stunk it up 4 times, but at least he got there, which is why I believe he can get this team to the playoffs, because the Dallas schedule is a touch easier than the Eagles schedule. What will you have to show for it? You'll get blown off the field in a home playoff game. That's probably what will happen. But can he get them to the play? You better believe he can, even without his 2 starting tackles. I think they'll do it very differently. They'll go with the Shannon Sharp method. They will feed the beast that is Ezekiel Elliott. He will eat and eat and eat. We might see 25 or 30 carries a game, but remember, Andy Dalton does have 3 potential Pro Bowl receivers to throw to and a decent tight end in Dalton Schultz to throw to. And my point is, if you're a running football team the way you want them to be, and you can get somebody open off play action anytime you want it, whatever you want, this man is accurate enough. He's been around enough that he will be able to get the ball where it's supposed to be in even big moments. Because I got to tell you, those two throws at the end of the game, that he went Russell Wilson, albeit on the New York Giants, but he went Russell Wilson.
All right. Let's not go too far.
Well, seriously, can we see those quickly? I just want to see those two throws. The first one, he's on the dead run to his right and throws a seed to Gallup, who gets both feet in bounds. That was the play. That was a big-time throw. Under pressure, remember, you got to go 70 yards with 52 seconds left, and then he goes bombs away on the next play and throws it up where only Gallup could go up and snatch it. And I got to tell you, that those two took my breath away. I'm like, that's...
Plus, Skip, the thing that running the ball does is it keeps your defense off the field.
It does.
That's the last thing that you want.
I'll buy that.
You want them playing as few minutes as possible until they get this corrected where they can have some resemblance of resistance. Possibly take the ball away.
What did they do Dak's rookie year? They led the league in time of possession because they were a running football team. I got it.
Can I interject?
Can
I interject here? So this is what you're going to start to see now. Now you're going to start to see, put the game on Andy Dalton's hands. Shannon, your offensive player. You're going to start to see a lot of bare front on defense. Beat me with your quarterback. When the year that we lost Tony Romo, before we were fortunate enough to get Dak in the 4th round, and we had to play with the likes of Stephen McGee. I think it was like Matt Castle. Matt Castle, a guy who was a Pro Bowler who had taken a New England team to the playoffs. You're going to start to see a lot of 8- and 9-man boxes and beat me with your quarterback. And then the problem is your defense can't stop anybody. So once you get down, it's going to be on the arm of Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton doesn't have the escapability of Dak Prescott. He doesn't have the playmaking ability of Dak Prescott. And if I was a little hard on Andy, forgive me. But my last 2 experiences with Andy were when I was with the Chiefs. We didn't have a good defense at all the year in 2018. And we ran them out of Arrowhead. Andy Dalton threw multiple interceptions, pick 6. And then if you go back before that, we played them in my last year in Dallas, and we ran them out of AT&T Stadium.
But when you have CeeDee Lamb, who's emerging as a star, and he's going to look at that Bear defense in the slot and say, I'm open. Throw it to me.
Well,
Andy Dalton had a guy that's one of the best young slot receivers, and he's only overlooked because he plays in Cincinnati, and Tyler Boyd. He's an 1,200 yard a year receiver. He had AJ Green, this guy's been to the Pro Bowl every year he's been. I just think it's gonna be tough. I think that you're gonna try and run the ball and try and take care of the ball, but on defense, you can't stop a nosebleed. I don't know how you're gonna beat anybody. And when it comes down to it, whose defense is better? Philadelphia Eagles.
They're better. I would agree. Okay, speaking of the Cowboys secondary, you said they're young. They're also just not very good. So should they have taken a shot and plunged and risked signing Earl Thomas?
I don't think so. I think the risk is not worth the reward. Whatever happened, Earl, it soured for him in Seattle, where he turned out to be flipping off the sideline in his last game. It soured for him in Baltimore. I mean, a fight is one thing. You normally don't get released for a fight or punching a teammate, so that just tells you that it was much, much deeper than that. It was Shannon, you played in that Baltimore locker room. That culture is everything.
It is.
And Ozzie, he's built a culture that it's all about being a Raven. So it was something much deeper. And I hope whatever it is, Earl gets another shot. But he had a really rough offseason with the incident, the family incident, and then he had the incident with the teammate. I think it was more than that, and it was enough for them to say, even though we owe you $10 million, enough is enough.
Okay, but Orlando, he made the Pro Bowl last year. He is a made man. He gives you some presence in the secondary.
He does.
You know, where at least you can trust he might make a couple of plays a game that the 2 safeties that I have to watch every Sunday are just not capable of making.
But the problem is you don't want to teach those young guys. You don't want to get those young guys into bad ways. You don't want to bring bad culture, because that's really, really, really hard to fix. It's not even worth a Pro Bowl. And I just don't think that Earl Thomas changes that defense. That defense has got problems from the front to the back.
That's why they wanted him out of Seattle. That's why they wanted him out of Baltimore, because they didn't want the young guys to say, oh, if I make a Pro Bowl, I'll become an all-pro. This is how I can act? Oh, no. They said, no, we got to get you up out of here. And remember, Skip, it was reported that the Houston Texans met as a team and said, no, please do not bring this guy in our locker room. Oh, I don't know about you, but I played 14 years. I've never heard of a situation where players go to a general manager or ownership, head coach, and says, "Nah, we don't want that guy in this locker room."
Never heard of it. 12 years in the NFL, played with guys that were highly controversial.
Yes.
Terrell Owens, Pac-Man Jones, Tank Johnson. We had never had a situation where we voted a guy on or off the team. And whatever it is, it's deeper than we see on the surface. And I just don't think it would have been the right move from a financial standpoint. You don't want to tie yourself financially to something that probably won't help you or won't get you over the hump. But Skip, I agree with you. That defense is bad. And the only thing that you have to say, we talk about hustle plays. Oh, look at this play. This guy's getting beat like he stole something. He's getting beat like a drum, but he's hustling.
Yeah.
Like they just don't make plays at all.
And yet, despite all that, we are going to win the least.
Yeah.
We are going to win it.
Yeah, good. Celebrate that. Celebrate that.
I will. It'll be a cubic zirconium Eastern championship, just like your LeBron championship.
We've got a lot of that going around right now. Orlando, good to have you. We'll check in with you very soon.
Run that to me on. Run that to me on.
For LeBron, does LeBron finally have the ammo to win this GOAT debate over MJ? There's more to this.
Again?
We explain next.